Good morning. Um, um, let's see. Yesterday, the organic template peeked in, and um, I was in the Santa Barbara house. All of a sudden, I was transported to Santa Barbara in the Santa Barbara house, and I was with Sebastian and Annabelle. So I don't know if they just bought a house in Santa Barbara or they're renting a house in Santa Barbara or they're looking for a house in Santa Barbara or it's a Sebastian double. I'm not sure, but that's where I was transported. Yesterday, for like a split second, it like becomes Santa Barbara and then it goes back to here. Space Coast definitely were on last night. There's a lot of people walking out of the video game, so they're aware that it's a video game and it's making it frustrating for us. That people know it's a video game and they're talking about it in telepathy. I was at my old work and they were talking about it in telepathy, and it made some of my coworkers frustrated. I forgot I have a coffee. And um, so let me think. What was I saying? I believe Gwyneth Paltrow walked out last night. I saw Colin turn into RDJ in the Iron Man suit. It was just a silver suit. It wasn't last night, that was a couple nights ago. I also saw Crystal Castles being built, which was called Atlantis on Mars. That's a Martian story. So a lot of our stories are Martian stories. They're history from Mars that bear repeating. So we do not repeat them down here, which we are currently in the middle of um, repeating. It's called Crystal Castles on Earth, and it's called, which is a music group, if you're not familiar. So it became a music group here on Earth when they couldn't realize Crystal Castles fully, and it's like it's like my favorite band. I play them all the time. Um, so Atlantis is a Martian story of a fallen city where they built a crystal city with crystalline technology, and it was like beautiful crystals all around. And I showed you guys my mom's story, um, the fifth element, and I want to call it the one molecule, so it must be called the one molecule on Mars. And down here it's called the fifth element, which would be interpreted as the spiritual element, which is Paris Hilton down here. Um, you've heard of the spirit molecule, that's DMT. I think it's also like ayahuasca. So it's all interrelated. And people hold those gifts, they're gifts. And so Atlanteans built a crystalline city with crystalline technology, crystalline ships. They came and visited here. It was like an overlay of Mars, and I saw crystal castles forming again. So the crystal castles here on Earth has translated into a music group. It's translated to this computer. This is crystal. There's crystal technology in your computer. There's also crystal technology in your bone structure. In your bones, there's crystals. I forget the name of it, but there's actual crystal that's in your bones. Let me Google it. Bones primarily consist of hydroxyapatite, hydroxyapatite, a mineral crystal, and collagen, providing structure and support and hardness. I feel like it has another name, that's why I'm looking. But maybe that's it. So, the crystalline structure here on Earth is in our phones, it's in our computers, it might be in our TV, I'm not sure. And that is how the Earth is building crystal castles, which again is, well, it's definitely a lower technology than Mars. And we see the crystalline structures, the crystalline castles and stuff on Mars as otherworldly, as supernatural, as amazing. And that's what this crystalline structure will look like if we fall to Pluto with these gadgets we call computers and phones, devices, that'll be called supernatural devices and stuff like that if we fall to Pluto, because we won't have any memory of making them or how we made them. And we won't be able to dial up on our computer system, our brain, how to reform these things called computers if we fall to Pluto. Because look, if you think of a crystalline city, we have no idea how to build that structure. There's probably some people that have an idea of how to build that structure, but clearly we do not have crystalline cities. Think of Elsa. That's like a crystalline castle, and they call it ice, but it's a crystalline castle. So it looks like that, but it's a whole city. And we don't know how to do that down here. Okay, and that's how if we fall to Pluto, we won't be able to do this. So that's basically how it works when you're falling in density and you're falling in planets. And so that's why you kind of want to ascend and not descend, because you want to gain knowledge of how to build things and not fall back down to Cyclops territory, ancient uh, territory from the past. Um, Crystalline City is such much higher, brighter vibration than planet Earth's crystalline cities, which is, like New York, based on computer systems, all that stuff. And so if the one molecule named Mila Jovovich wasn't honored on Mars, it fell. And that was her purpose and her mission in that life on Mars. And that's why we're here on Earth repeating the process. And um, it benefits the entire world if the princess one molecule is honored. And then it helps to rebuild and helps us to ascend to a higher dimension. The Earth is choosing to descend, and it's descending into a structure that is called Last of Us. Now, are there computer systems? Is there a crystalline computer system and a crystalline phone technology on Last of Us? It seems that there is an electricity system that is based on generators and smaller units of electricity that gives electricity to small towns that's in the wasteland of the US, possibly the world. And that's what we rely on for energy in Last of Us. So it's not based on a computer or crystalline tech as we do have it now. It's based on smaller electricity generators to generate electricity for small areas, such as a factory or a small town or a building. And that would give you some access to modern amenities. Minus the World Wide Web, there would be no World Wide Web in Last of Us, or a worldwide communication center, or a worldwide connection of electricity called the grid that would go around the planet. So that all fits in to density and velocity and time, time slowing down, and not being able to keep the electricity grid afloat, or the crystalline structure we call computer systems and the technology of the phone afloat, creating smaller patterns of electricity in smaller groups that are forming in the ethers at first, because things do form in the ethers at first, and then coagulate down into spiritual matter called physical matter. Yeah.
There's a bag of pictures downstairs in the living room. Did you take them?
No. Therefore, an army is no longer needed if we fall to Last of Us, for we will be serving small camps and smaller armies called inmate men and or zombies, and or suffer greatly at the hand of the apocalypse itself, which has already started in the form of a mind infection. And as the mind and the cordyceps take hold of the mind infection, it grows and grows worse. And you start to notice that you are one of a kind, and you are always unique, and you are always honored, and you are always loved by the one in many shapes and forms and sizes. And then we can choose to move on from Last of Us, or we can complete the game and fall to a lower form of Earth called Pluto.